Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today I am filming the Invisible Cities tag. I haven't done an Invisible Cities video in a while because I kind of fell off the wagon of the project. So in case you don't know, the Invisible Cities is a project where we were encouraged to read a book from the countries that were picked that month. In the beginning there were 3 countries a month, and you were also encouraged to read translated books and to do other things beside only reading a book. So there are a couple of questions, and let's just dive into them. The first one is, what is your favorite book that you read thanks to Invisible Cities? If I remember, I'll try to link the specific videos of those books below. But the first one is definitely Erased. The Untold Story of the Panama Canal, I think is the name, and it's written by Marixa Lasso. It's non-fiction, and it is about the lives of the people that were living in the area where the Panama Canal was built, and how at the beginning they were all profiting from the Panama Canal and all of the people that were traveling through the region during also the decades before that, and how that had influenced their lives, and then slowly but surely them becoming people that weren't even allowed to live in the country that was theirs and that had been theirs for generations, and how they were displaced, and how despite them having cultural links to the locations that they were displaced to other places, and were like, oh, you were doing this for a job, now you're gonna have to find something else, good luck, bye. So really interesting book without being too heavy-handed on the details, so loved that one. I also really liked that one, by the way, I read for Panama, in case you hadn't picked up on it. What I read for Barbados was also one that I really liked, and that was Redemption in Indigo by Karen Lord. To be honest, I can't really remember the plot that much, but I remember the whimsical aspect of it most of all. It's primarily about a woman that finds a chaos stick in this magical realism world, and there is a magical being that kind of decides it's his chaos stick and he wants it back, but he's going to show her stuff that she can do with it. And it's kind of about taking regency in your own life despite chaos, from what I can vaguely remember. But yeah, the whimsical aspect I really liked. And the third book that I wanted to talk about really quickly is The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This was my pick for Japan, and I read it at the beginning of the year. It's very heartwarming and light-hearted book about a housekeeper that takes care of a math professor who has problems with his memory. He can only remember 80 minutes, and at one point she also takes her son with her to this house, and it's about the bond between these characters that is so lovely. They care for one another, each in their own way, and this whole love for math is also a lot of fun. So those 3 books I really loved. The second question is about, what is a author that you would like to read more from, that you've discovered through Invisible Cities? And I'm not necessarily a person that discovers an author and then deep dive. I don't read a book and then, oh, I really like this writing style and therefore want to read more. I'm more of a plotty person, or interested in facts kind of person, interested in discovering new things. So I was disappointed to discover that the one author that I would want to read more from is this man from Egypt that wrote a classic. And I want to be someone that is cool and like, oh, this new female author, blah blah blah, super cool writing style, but that's not me. I was mostly interested in the Cairo trilogy by Naguib Mahfouz, and I kind of want to continue with that trilogy. It's about a family in Cairo, and I love discovering that world and the relationships between the family members, and I kind of would want to continue with it. So yeah, I want to continue with Naguib Mahfouz. I'm really disappointed in myself for this, but we'll have to deal with that later. The next question is, what is a non-book related favorite thanks to Invisible Cities? So at the beginning I went all out. I did books, music, movie, and food. And music, I'd quickly dropped that one because I listen to music mostly on the background, so I don't actively listen to music, so that didn't work. The movies I did, I think, for the first 2.5 months, and I struggled to find stuff that was accessible to me. So I quickly stopped with that. But two things that I really loved were movie/series. So we'll get to that later. But those two were, on the one hand, the series The Green Frontier that I looked at for Colombia. It's really cool. It's magic realism. It's set in the Amazonian forest, and it's about culture. It's about the role of the forest. It was really cool. It was a little bit complicated also. There's lots of moments that you're like, what is this about? But it does suck you in. So I really loved that one. And I also really I remember the movie An Hour and a Half that I looked at, and it was set in Egypt, and it's about a train accident. There were a lot of train accidents in Egypt in that period in time, and this is about the hour and a half before the train accident, a specific train accident, and the lives of the people on the train and the different ways that they got onto the train, etc. I can't even remember why I liked it, just that it kind of stayed in my head as something. On the one hand, you know, it's a train accident, it happens everywhere, but it really showed a lot of people. So it did give me a taste for Egypt at that time. That I really like that as well. Now, food. So I made empanadas at the beginning of the year that I really appreciated. Although don't think I've made any of these things again. The empanadas, love the sushi, obviously. I really liked my dumplings, but I'm not sure whether they're actual dumplings. I just remember liking whatever it is that I made. I also, for Iraq, I kind of veered off and didn't make a dish, but made these sweets. They were apricot coconut mashed together, and then these little balls that were delicious. I also really liked my falafels. That is maybe the one thing that I've made multiple times, because I tried it previously, failed miserably at making them that weren't necessarily any good, and then tried it again thanks to Invisible Cities, and then managed to make something that was good, and therefore made it again in 3 times maybe in the next month. So yeah, my falafels, really liked. I should make them again. They were good. Then we've got the question, any countries that you visited for the first time? So I've been doing a reading around the world project for 3 to 4 years now, I think. But I've been slow at it because the world is a big place and I've got time ahead of me. But Invisible Cities did really speed it up, so brace yourself for the list. Morocco, Argentina, Egypt, Iraq, Libya, Mexico, Equatorial Guinea, Peru, Romania, Lebanon, Barbados, Mozambique, Panama, and Israel. I can't really count it because I DNF'd the book. Well, I'm not going to continue with it, but I also do want to finish it. So I can't really count that. So let's say 13 new countries. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And it ties into the next question, which is, what is a geographical area or a country that you would want to expand your knowledge of, go to? And every country, every geographical area, every time I went somewhere, I felt like reading more from that country, despite the whole time issue, not having the time. I also felt like learning more about the history. I felt like learning more about what it is like now. I felt like learning more about social questions. I felt like learning more about their link with other countries. So, want to know everything about everyone, is my conclusion. Then, recommend a woman in translation that you discovered. 1, Yoko Ogawa with The Housekeeper and the Professor. Although her other book is, I think, Memory Police, and people haven't been super enthusiastic about it, so I'm not interested in reading that one, but this one, Women in Translation. And I also would recommend Selva Almada with The Dead Girls, with a caveat. Dead Girls is a book, it's a non-fiction meets fiction, and that was a problem. It's about femicide in Argentina through the deaths of 3 girls, and it was always uncertain for me what was fiction, what was non-fiction. The lines weren't clear, and that is on the one hand pretty cool. On the other, I didn't know whether things that were in the book had happened or not, and what that meant. So that was a bit confusing. Another thing that was confusing is that I really struggled keeping the girls distinct from one another. I never knew when we were talking about which one, which also was a bit meh. But the topic is great, and if it's done on purpose, that the lives of these girls kind of mash together, then it's awesome. If it's not done on purpose, then it's sloppy. So that's kind of my caveat. But it was kind of great, kind of meh at the same time. Last question is, do you have an Invisible City goal or goals for next year? 1, get back into the game, because I haven't done anything for the past months. That kind of started with a reading slump that I had, so I want to go back into. But I want to focus on quality more than quantity, because I think that for a part of the project I was focusing on, yes, done that country, next. And because of that, the books quickly felt meh, because I wasn't really taking the time to appreciate them, and probably also picked up books just because they were available, and not because there was something that I knew I was going to be interested in. So there were, for example, a couple of books that I read because they were available to me through the library. I want to use the library, but I live in the Netherlands. A lot of books will therefore be translated in Dutch, and depending on the initial language, sometimes it just doesn't work. I have that often with books that are originally written in a Latin language, that when they're translated to Dutch, it just doesn't work for me. So I'm not going to force myself to pick up any of those type of things that I can pick up. I want to focus more on, okay, let's delve into this country. Are there any things that I really do want to pick up now? And if I don't have that, or if they're not available to me, then that is fine, and I will let it go without feeling disappointed in myself. As I said, I also want to go back to watching movies, but once again, without forcing me and feeling disappointed when I can't find something because it's just simply it's not available. But I want to go back to seeing, okay, is there anything available? What is it? Oh, is that interesting? Then watch it. That's going to be how I'm going to do that. So without, putting pressure. And I also want to get back to food, because despite not necessarily eating the things that they're supposed to be, and despite not necessarily also eating things that were good because I had messed it up, it was a great way to get out of the everyday rhythm of things, because every once in a while I would discover I would really go into something new. And I don't know whether I'm going to do it for every country, but I definitely want to at least use the book that I got that has a lot of great recipes. The Green World Kitchen, it's Dutch, but what I like about this book is that it's doable. These are things that I can find. I can do this. So yeah, go back into it, focusing on quality and what is possible, without the, you were not able to do this, fail. So those are my goals for Invisible Cities. I would love to hear if you're going back or getting into the project, what your experience was like. Please do the tag if you haven't done it, because reading other people's or looking to videos, I loved seeing especially what the favorite books were, and there are a couple of things that I remember people reading and liking, but now I'm like, why didn't I not read that? And I put it on my want to read list. So please do the tag. I'll see you in another video. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Ba-chum, ba-chum, chum.